Monday, 7:04 a.m. I was still in slippers, coffee in one hand, trash bag in the other, when Mrs. Harris, my 68-year-old neighbor, nearly stumbled across the sidewalk toward me. She wasn't the type to panic, retired school principal, sharp, precise, private. So when I saw her face that morning, pale and shaking, I knew something serious was coming. "Listen," she whispered, barely above my own heartbeat. "I didn't know if I should tell you, but I couldn't sleep last night. This has been happening too long." I blinked. "What's happening?" She glanced around, then leaned closer. "Every time you leave the house, someone comes. Around 10 p.m., always gone before dawn. It's been happening every night. You're away, they show up. And your husband?" He greets him at the door. My stomach dropped. "Are you sure?" She nodded slowly. "Same car. Same man." I didn't ask more. Didn't accuse. I just closed the door behind me and stood in the hallway, listening to the faint hum of the fridge, my heart hammering in my ears. By noon, I had called a tech friend, installed 3 hidden cameras, and booked a fake weekend trip. Friday morning, I kissed my husband goodbye. He smiled like nothing was wrong, and that's when it began. Friday night, I checked into a cheap motel 2 towns over. I didn't unpack. I just opened my laptop, logged into the camera system, and stared at the split screens. Our bedroom, living room, entryway. Every angle crystal clear. Every room painfully quiet. 9:50 p.m. He was in the kitchen, wine glass in hand, wearing a dress he'd never worn for me. She lit candles, put on jazz, poured a second glass. My stomach churned. 9:58 p.m. headlights flashed outside. At exactly 10:01 p.m., the front door opened. No knock. He walked in like he owned the place. She met him at the door. They hugged, not casually, not politely. Familiar, close, her hand lingering on his chest. And then I saw his face. It wasn't a stranger. It was Claire, my best friend, my confidant, the person I'd helped through breakups, job interviews, even a serious illness. She had joked once, "If you ever disappear, I'll move in." I had laughed. I didn't know she meant it literally. Now she was in my living room, laughing with my husband. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just watched every second, heart pounding, stomach twisting. I closed the laptop, opened a blank email, and began typing, the subject line ready to be sent when I decided it was time. Saturday morning, I showed up at work like nothing had happened. Coffee in hand, casual smile, nodding at coworkers. My husband wasn't there yet. I sat at his desk, waited. My chest was steel. No cracks, only calculation. 9:12 a.m., he strolled in. Sunglasses on, whistling. "Rough night?" I asked, casual, almost bored. He laughed. "Man, you have no idea." I smiled. Just slightly. He flinched, barely noticeable, but I saw it. Good. I didn't want panic yet. That afternoon, I updated the email draft, attached the footage, time-stamped it, embedded screenshots, even photos from our wedding, with Claire standing a little too close. I saved it again, meticulously. But I wasn't done. Monday morning, I quietly removed her access to our shared accounts, canceled small privileges. Nothing big. Just enough to get her attention. Little cracks. Silent ripples. That evening, her call came. "Hey, is everything okay with the accounts?" she asked, voice lighter than her nerves betrayed. "Oh, just balancing a few things," I said calmly. She laughed nervously. "You sound different." I whispered, letting the truth linger like a shadow. That night, I went home, not to confront, but to observe. The house smelled the same. The couch, the photos, the vanilla candles she loved, all unchanged. But it felt like a set I no longer belonged to. She was in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone when I walked in. "Back early?" she asked, too casual. "Trip got canceled," I said, leaning against the counter. She froze for a fraction of a second, just enough for me to notice, then forced a smile. We ate dinner in silence. No warmth, no small talk, just the quiet hum of betrayal hanging in the air. Later, I opened the laptop. Played one clip. Just one. Her laughing with Claire. I didn't call her in. Didn't shout. I left the screen open, then packed a small bag and drove back to the motel. At 10:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. We need to talk. I stared at it, feeling clarity, not anger, not heartbreak. My name is Samantha Reed, and for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't losing my marriage. I was escaping a lie. I typed one line back. We will. Then I hit send. Saturday morning, I showed up at the office like nothing had happened. Coffee in hand, calm smile, nodding at coworkers. Everyone was blissfully unaware of the storm I'd uncovered. My husband wasn't there yet. I sat at his desk, chest tight but composed, letting the calm mask the fury underneath. I watched the clock. 9:12 a.m. exactly. He strolled in, sunglasses on, whistling like he owned the building. Rough night? I asked casually. He chuckled, the kind of laugh that made my stomach twist. You have no idea. I tilted my head slightly, smiling softly. Just a hint. He froze for a microsecond. Barely noticeable, but I saw it. Good. Panic too early would ruin everything. Timing was everything. I spent the morning pretending life was normal, reviewing reports, chatting lightly with coworkers, all while my mind replayed the footage, every hug, every laugh, every lingering touch. Claire's face, so familiar, so intimate, haunted every corner of my mind. By lunchtime, I was ready. I updated the email draft again. Time-stamped video clips, screenshots, photos from our wedding. Claire had been there, shoulder brushing mine, hand on my husband's arm in the background. Silent betrayal captured in perfect clarity. Then I saved it, checked it, blocked it. Not yet sent. Precision was my weapon. Monday morning, I could feel the thrill of control. My fingers hovered over the banking app. Quietly, I shifted funds, canceled minor memberships, suspended the Netflix account she used under my name. Tiny blows. Invisible at first glance, but noticeable enough to spark anxiety. Death by 1,000 cuts. That evening, her call came. Hey, is everything okay with the accounts? Her voice tried to sound casual. Oh, just balancing a few things, I said calmly, letting it hang. You sound different, she said nervously. I replied softly, letting my words sink like ice into water. I went home that night, not to confront, but to observe. The house smelled the same. The couch, the photos, the vanilla candles she loved unchanged. Yet it felt like a stage I no longer belonged on. She was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, barefoot. Back early, she asked, trying for casual. Trip canceled, I said, leaning on the counter, watching her reaction. She froze for a fraction of a second, just enough for me to notice, then smiled too brightly. Dinner was silent. No small talk. No warmth. Just the quiet hum of betrayal in the air. I could feel every second stretching, testing her composure, like a violin string pulled taut. Later, I opened the laptop. Played one clip. Just one. Her laughter with Claire. The hand on the arm. The wine glass they shared. I didn't call her in. I didn't yell. I left the screen open on the desk where she would see it. Then I packed a small bag and drove back to the motel. At 10:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. We need to talk. I stared at it, feeling clarity settle inside me. Not anger, not heartbreak, pure cold focus. I sat on the motel bed, coffee cooling beside me, watching the timestamp on the footage again. Every detail mattered. The precise timing, the angles, the smiles that weren't mine. I wasn't just planning exposure. I was planning liberation. This wasn't revenge. It was clarity, delivered slowly, deliberately. I drafted another email, this time to HR. Not accusatory. Not emotional. Just facts. Video clips. Timestamps. No threats. Digital precision. By 3 p.m., they would have everything they needed to act. By 4:30 p.m., Claire would walk out of our lives without realizing the hand that orchestrated it. I leaned back on the bed, breathing slow, feeling a calm I hadn't known in years. I wasn't losing my marriage. I was reclaiming my life, piece by piece, with patience as my ally and truth as my weapon. And somewhere deep inside, a smile crept in. Monday morning, I walked into work like nothing had happened. Coffee in hand, calm smile, nodding at coworkers. Every step measured, every gesture casual. Inside, I was a storm contained, calculating, precise, deliberate.
Claire wasn't in yet.
That suited me perfectly. I sat at my desk, reviewing reports with an air of normalcy, while my phone sat quietly beside me, drafted emails ready to deliver the truth. By 9:12 a.m., she strolled in. Sunglasses on, hair perfect, a confident smile I knew was all facade. She had no idea what awaited her. Rough weekend? I asked lightly. She laughed too loud. You have no idea. I tilted my head, smiling faintly. The tiniest twitch betrayed her composure.
Good.
Patience. Timing. By noon, I was ready. Not for a fight, not for yelling, but for precision. I sent the email to HR, attachments, video clips, timestamps, screenshots, everything. No signature. No threats. Just the cold, undeniable truth. I didn't need to explain. The facts spoke louder than emotion ever could. By 3 p.m., I watched her reaction from my office window. Claire's confidence faltered. Panic replaced poise. By 4:30 p.m., she was packing her things, her perfect hair mussed, lips tight. She glanced around, confused, betrayed, but clueless about who orchestrated her downfall. I allowed myself a small, quiet smile. No vindictiveness. Just satisfaction. Clarity delivered. That evening, I went home, not to confront, but to observe. The house smelled the same, vanilla candles, our photos, the couch. Yet every corner felt like a stage I no longer belonged to. She was in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone, pretending normalcy. Back early, she asked, too casual, too rehearsed. Trip canceled, I replied, leaning on the counter. Her frozen smile, the microsecond pause, perfect. Enough for me to notice. Dinner was silence. The tension was thick, tangible. I could feel it, every glance, every half smile. She thought she was safe. She was wrong. Later, I opened the laptop. Played a single clip, the one that would speak louder than words. Claire laughing with him, her hand brushing his arm. Wine glasses clinking. I left it on the desk, screen glowing. No need for me to say a word. Minutes passed. I watched her notice. Her hands trembled slightly as her gaze flicked between the screen and me. The mask of casual composure slipped. Then her message came, text on my phone. We need to talk. I stared at it. Not fear. Not heartbreak. Pure clarity. I wasn't reacting. I was observing. Calculating. I typed a single line back. We will. Later that night, I returned to the motel. My mind replayed every frame of the footage, every laugh, every whisper, every secret they thought I'd never catch. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel betrayal. I felt liberation. The next morning, I returned home. Calm, composed, unbroken. She was waiting, eyes red, voice tight. I know you saw, she said quietly. I did, I replied, voice steady, controlled. Her shoulders slumped. I messed up. Can we fix this? I looked past her at the living room where they'd sat, the house we built, the life that was never truly ours. That depends, I said softly, on whether you're ready for the truth. She paled, and for the first time, I saw fear, not from accusation, but from realization. The person she thought I was, the forgiving, naive, trusting me, was gone. That night, I slept in the guest room. Not because I had to, but because I needed distance, the kind that allows clarity without distraction, without warmth, without lies masquerading as apologies. She knocked, repeatedly. Please, let's talk. I made a mistake. We can start over. But trust doesn't die in an explosion. It dies quietly, in the moments when someone you love chooses someone else, day after day, behind your back. And I was ready to reclaim what I'd been blind to for far too long. That night, I went home with a calm I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't angry. I wasn't desperate. I was ready. She was sitting at the top of the stairs, barefoot, eyes wide when she saw me enter. Claire, the betrayer, still lingering in my mind like a shadow, was nowhere in sight yet. "You didn't tell me she was back," my husband stammered, surprised, his casual confidence cracking for the first time. I stepped aside, letting him move forward. The quiet tension was already mine to command. I walked over to the media console, pulling a small remote from the drawer.
Click.
The TV flickered to life, black and white security footage filling the screen. Time-stamped, labeled. Claire laughing with him, hand on his waist. Her betrayal captured in precise detail. Silence. My husband froze, face pale. Amanda, no. She, the woman I thought I'd built a life with, sank onto the stairs, whispering, "Please don't." I smiled softly. "You meant every second of it," I said. Not accusatory, just factual.
Calm.
Claire would never know I orchestrated her exit from my life. But here, in this room, the truth was undeniable. My husband took a small step back. "Listen, this doesn't need to get messy." "Oh, it won't," I replied, voice steady, controlled. He stepped outside. Door closed behind him. Silence. Amanda stayed seated, shaking. I looked at the living room, the couch they'd sat on, the life that was never truly ours, and I whispered, "I watched everything. Now it's your turn to listen." She didn't interrupt. Not once. She just sat there, frozen. I pulled a second remote. Another screen lit up. Audio recordings. Private texts. Deleted messages recovered. Not just him. Others. Lies folded inside lies. She whispered, voice trembling, "I never thought you'd find out." "You didn't care if I did," I said calmly. She followed me into the kitchen, desperate. "Please, just let's talk." "I think you've said enough over the last year," I said, sliding a thin envelope across the counter.
Inside, divorce papers already signed.
No court battle, no drama, just clarity. She blinked. "But where will I go?" I tilted my head. "Back to the people you let into our bed. Start there." Tears welled in her eyes. She reached out, and I stepped back. Devin, a professional I'd hired, appeared at the door.
Silent, ready.
She stood, hands shaking, surveying the home she no longer owned. Photos. Dining table.
Couch.
Everything she had taken for granted. She walked out without a word. I locked the door behind her, turned off the cameras, took a deep breath. Not broken, not bitter, just free. The next morning, I opened the blinds, sunlight spilling across the floor. I brewed coffee, sat at the table, and for the first time in years, felt clarity instead of chaos. My home, my life, my rules. I wasn't here to revenge. I was here to reclaim, to rebuild, to breathe again without lies clouding every corner. And now I could. The morning after she left, the house was silent. Not the soft hum of comfort, but the stillness of clarity. I brewed my coffee, let the aroma fill the kitchen, and for the first time in years, the tension that had lived between these walls, between us, was gone. I walked through the room slowly, letting my fingers graze the furniture. The photos on the walls, our smiling faces, no longer carried betrayal, just memories I could now own without pain. The living room, the dining table, the guest room, every corner a reminder that this life belonged to me again. I sat at the desk where I'd first left the video open for her to see. The screen was dark. I didn't need to watch it again. I had proof, closure, and the knowledge that I had acted calmly, deliberately, and with precision. My life was back in my hands. I checked my phone. No messages from her. No frantic calls. Not yet. And that was perfect. I wasn't waiting for apologies, not even explanations. The truth had already spoken. By noon, I called my attorney, not for revenge, not for conflict, but to finalize everything that needed to be mine. Joint accounts, shared assets, legal clarity. I was meticulous. I wasn't bitter. I was careful, controlled.
Free.
The next few days were mine. I slept without the weight of deception, walked without the tension of lies lurking in every glance, and breathed without the suffocating anxiety that had defined the past year. At work, I moved through meetings and deadlines like nothing had changed. But inside, a quiet satisfaction hummed. Claire was gone. My husband had faced the truth. And I had reclaimed every part of myself they thought they could steal. I treated myself to small things I had denied myself over the past months. New flowers for the house, a long walk at sunset, coffee at a cafe where no one knew my name. Simple acts, but they felt revolutionary. Freedom often is. That night, I sat on the porch with a notebook, pen in hand. I wrote not out of anger, but to remember every step I'd taken, every decision, every calm, deliberate moment that had brought me here. I didn't need vengeance. I didn't need recognition. I needed clarity, and I had it in full. And I realized the person I had become wasn't just stronger, she was wiser, calmer, sharper. Trust wouldn't come easily again, but I could live without lies. I could thrive. I could smile without shadows haunting the corners of my mind. I poured myself a cup of tea and looked at the sunset. Warm light spilled across the yard, across the house I had fought to reclaim. This was more than a home, it was my life. And I had earned it back. Sometimes, life forces you to confront betrayal, to test your patience, to reveal the truth you never wanted to see. But the way forward isn't in fury or tears. It's in calm, measured action. In reclaiming what's yours, one deliberate step at a time. I smiled. This wasn't the end, it was a beginning. If you loved following the story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more real-life, edge-of-your-seat drama and empowering stories. Every story has a twist. You won't want to miss the next one.